right, at this time, we are getting ready for our next speaker. Her name is Christine Roberts. Christine is the founder and CEO of Create Your Best Life, which provides life coaching as a holistic approach for high-achieving leaders. That means everyone under the sound of my voice. She is an author, coach, motivational speaker, and facilitator of development topics. She is also a proud UGA parent. So, ladies and gentlemen, or ladies, a couple of guys back there, please put your hands together for Christine Roberts.
It's gonna be a good day. It's gonna be a good day. Good day.
How is everybody doing? Did you get a good pee break? Is everybody good? You got an empty bladder? Awesome, awesome. Well, I am so excited to be here. And before we dig in, and first I want to say Jen and Dr. Cree, amazing. And so many things that we're going to talk about here really weave into what they talked about. And but I want to just say this. It's not a coincidence that you're here. You're here for a reason. You made the decision. Some of you might have said, oh, I'm not going to go, I'm too busy, but you decided to come. And there's something that you're going to hear in this message that is going to positively impact your life. So pay attention. And the way that this is going to go, we're going to go through this content, and then we're going to have a Q&A, and I'm going to have some fun activities and some giveaways at the end. And I'm going to ask you what your one takeaway is. So keep that in mind as you're watching and listening. So when you look at lead yourself to lead others, like we're going to start with this premise that leadership is influence. Leadership is influence. Whether you're mom, a sister, an administrator, a CEO, whatever your title is, you influence other people. Therefore, you are a leader. And what I understand about you is that as professional women, you're juggling multiple roles, competing initiatives. You're trying to figure out what to do, searching for how to be happier, more joyful, and fulfilled in your life. Is that true? Can I get a yeah? Amen? What if I told you that by paying attention to your inner dialogue, that you can be empowered to control your life and make decisions that align with your values, your goals, and your well-being? Would that be of interest to you? Yes. So I'm going to share with you 3 key points that are going to allow you to do that. The first one is awareness. Awareness to your thoughts and how that drives your feelings, your results in your life. The second thing we're going to talk about is deciding to thrive. This is designing your life intentionally. And the third thing is about taking action with science-based habits. So first, awareness. What you think about most represents and defines your whole life. So be careful how you think. Your life is shaped by your thoughts. Let me ask you a question. How many thoughts per day do you think you have? Who here thinks it's A? Who thinks it's B? Who thinks it's C? All right, those of you that said 70,000, you're right. Now, I've had people tell me, I think I have more than that. Now, what is a thought? A thought is all this internal dialogue that you've got going on. Right now, you might be saying to yourself, oh, I didn't get to go to the bathroom. How long is this going to last? All these Spanx, why did I wear these Spanx? They're digging into my stomach. I'm thinking, like, I hope the glue stays on my lashes, these fake lashes that I've got on. Like, you're constantly saying things to yourself. When you pulled in, you're like, do I park here? Do I park there? Like, you're always asking yourself questions. You're always having all this internal dialogue. Now, here's the thing about 70,000 thoughts per day. Per the National Science Foundation, 95% of our thoughts are repetitive, and 80% are negative. So what happens is we're having more negative thoughts than positive thoughts. And what that does in our neural pathways is it creates this well-worn path. And we get into these same thoughts over and over, thinking the same thing we did last week, a month ago, a year ago. And per the National Science Foundation as well, there's depression, anxiety, all these things are so prevalent in our culture. Now, 95%, the reason that you don't notice this is because we only operate with 5% of our conscious mind. 95% of our mind is our subconscious running the show. Like, have you ever gone somewhere and you get there and you're like, I don't remember driving here. How did I get here? It's like your subconscious is running the show. And the thing about our subconscious mind is that we are programmed 95% by the time we're 7. Is that crazy? But the things that we can be, how we're programmed is for 3 things. It's repetition, intensity, authoritative figure. Repetition, intensity, authoritative figure. Now, if you think about that, we're being programmed all the time. I mean, we are constantly being programmed with information. And now I want you to take a minute and just read some of these things. And tell me how this makes you feel. These are headlines. They're old, but the premise is like this is some lyrics from a song. These are some of the TV shows that were on TV. I mean, when you read that, what does that feel like? It's heavy, right? Well, that's what a lot of it we're consuming. In our culture, we are downloaded with so much negative messaging, and we become desensitized to it. So this is a young lady, Mackenzie. I'm a mentor to her, and we got partnered in 2011. It's the, it used to be the Big Brothers Big Sisters organization, but where I live, it became Mentor Me North Georgia. And Mackenzie and I were matched. She was in a situation, her mom had schizophrenia. She had her and her sister at 16 and 17. Her dad had 5 children. She was kind of estranged from her dad. He had 3 different women that he had 5 children with. Like, she had a lot of things going on in her life. I went to pick her up one day. So I would pick her up every week, and we would just go out to eat and just hang out. We'd go to different types of restaurants and try to just have a good time and go Italian and Greek and sushi and just things like that. One day I went to pick her up, and on the TV, there's a show, and it's like a violent scene, and it's a man with another guy with a headlock, and he's got a gun to his head, and it's like this violent scene on TV. And I looked at it, and I thought, oh my gosh, this is not something that these little girls should be consuming. But we went out to dinner, and the next week when I pick her up, she says, Christine, I've been having nightmares about someone coming in and raping me and murdering my family. And I was taken aback, and I said, Mackenzie, God makes our minds pure. Where do you think those thoughts are coming from? And she's like, I don't know. I said, well, have you seen any images like that? Or have you been, like where could you have seen images like that? And she goes, oh, no, I'm not around anything like that. And I said, well, when I picked you up last week, there was a show on that had a lot of violent scene. And she goes, oh, those shows don't scare me. That is the epitome of what happens to us in our culture. If, what we feed our minds, our thought diet, is so important. And, many times we become desensitized. It's like the boundaries have moved so slowly that things become normalized, and we don't even realize that it's affecting us at a subconscious level. Now, oops, I went the wrong way. Who's a computer person here? Like, does anyone know what GIGO stands for? Garbage in, garbage out, right? It's a computer term. It goes the same for us. Garbage in, garbage out. And so I want all of us to say this. If you could say this out loud. 1, 2, 3. Whoever has your ear has your life. What you consume, you become. What you tune into, you turn into. So if you don't program your mind, someone else will. So that's our first step, is awareness. Awareness to your thoughts. And thinking about your thinking is called metacognition. And so I want you to be having that in the back of your mind for now. The second thing we're going to talk about is deciding to thrive. I want to share a story with you about a woman who was maxed out. She worked full time. She had her kids doing sports. She traveled. She's operating at 99% reactive mode. And she just, like tension in her neck became a norm. Can anybody relate to this? On paper, she had everything. She had the nice house, the luxury cars, financial abundance, but life just really sucked. She's like, on paper, it looks great. And she went to an event with her husband called Cultural Current. And they set up the scene about Cultural Current with people. There was a couple that were on a boat. And they're on the boat and they're going scuba diving. So they show them going out on the boat. They're on the boat, they drop anchor, and then they both go over the side. And they show them under the water. And they're looking at the anchor. And they keep showing them looking at the anchor. Well, then they got distracted. And I don't know if we have any, do we have any scuba divers in here? All right, so you know, there's a current under the water. And if you don't keep an eye on that anchor, that current's gonna carry you away. Well, they get distracted. And they look and they don't see the anchor anymore. And then they go up to the top of the water and they show the boat is so far away. And the whole metaphor was how the cultural current can take us away from what's really important in our lives. And so this woman saw that. And then she read an article about people in hospice. And they asked people in hospice, if you could live your life over again, what would you do differently? And what they said was, the root was regret. Regret that they didn't say they were sorry. Regret that they didn't take the time in those relationships and their kids grew up and they wish they had done different things. Regret that they didn't take those long weekends and travel and do fun stuff. It was always about regret. Well, this woman had met somebody that they had sold their house, or they rented their house, they bought an RV and traveled America with their kids. So it planted a seed for her. And she started researching on how to do this. And it was crazy. People, she didn't tell too many people, but it sounded crazy. There was lots of perceived obstacles. And this was the route that she took. And that woman was me. In 2016 and 2017, I was working as a consultant, traveling. I thought I was going to have a nervous breakdown. Because like what Dr. Cree and Jen were talking about, people would say to me, Christine, you're always so stressed out, your neck is always hurting. And I would feel angry. I would be like defensive. And it was like I was in such a bad place. And I was like, I can't do this anymore. And it sounded like it was so crazy. A lot of people were just like, we ended up selling our house in 3 days, convincing my engineer husband. Now that was my biggest sales job. I had to do a spreadsheet for him with all the problems, all the opportunities, what the solutions would be, because he worked for Cisco Systems at the time. But we ended up doing all of these things. He worked, we had Wi-Fi, MiFi, Verizon, AT&T, like our kids did the K-12 Georgia Cyber Academy. I was working, I convinced my company to let me work on the road. My husband worked for Cisco. This is kind of funny. His company didn't know that he was doing it. Literally, we were traveling, and we were cast on a TV show called Going RV, so we did an episode of that. I don't know if we have any campers in here, but your camper, you probably saw us. We were on like a gazillion times on that show. But in any case, it was really, when you look at your life and you think about deciding to thrive, it is what it is. Like all this stuff that's out there, we can't control that. The only thing that you can control is yourself. And now, deciding to thrive comes back to you and it comes back to me. And now I'm not saying that you should sell your house and buy an RV and travel America. But what I am saying is, what is it for you? Many times we spend more time planning our vacations than we do our lives. Where are we going to go? How are we going to get there? What time should we go this time of year, that time of year? Should we fly? Should we drive? Like we spend all this time planning those kind of things, but we don't really step back to think about our lives. And why is that? Because we're on this rat race of life. It can be fear, like to do bold things. It can be scary. Many times I tell people, when you think about your thoughts, right? The 70,000 thoughts, the questions we ask ourselves is so important. Because our minds, the way our brains work, is if you ask yourself a question, your brain will look for the answers. It's called the reticular activating system. The challenge is what happens is we're not asking ourselves the right questions. A lot of times we're focused on what we can't do versus what we can do. Like travel in America, there was so many perceived obstacles. But I said, I am only focusing on how it can happen. So for you, I want you to think in your life, what is it for you that you've been holding off doing? You've kind of felt stuck. And you've been thinking about all the reasons why you can't do it. I want you to shift out of that. And don't worry about what other people think, because another thing is fear. There's so many people that said to me, oh, I could never do what you're doing. Oh, are you crazy? And it's like, you know what? Romans 12:2. It's like, do not conform to the ways of this world. Like, I don't care what other people are doing. I've got to run my life, and you want to run your life. And so I want you to ask yourself this question. What is the vision for your life if there were no limitations? Is that a great question? What is the vision for your life if there were no limitations? Because those without a vision will perish. And many times in our lives, a year goes by, 5 years goes by, and we're in the same place. And it's crazy. Like right now, I'm going, it's December 7th, right? What? I don't even know what day it is. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Did I say it was December 7th? I didn't even realize that. Listen, I'm going through menopause, and I don't know. I got a lot of brain fog going on, so bear with me. All you young girls, all these young, beautiful women, it's going to happen. Just hang on. So yes, it's November. It's November. Oh my gosh, I don't want to get into December yet. But anyways, think about, can you believe that it's this end of 2020? I feel like I was looking at my goals from the beginning of the year, and I felt like I just did them. Now, when you think about your vision, on your tables, you have this document, and it's called the Self-Discovery Wheel. And I would like you to do this right now. We're going to do 2 minutes, and I don't want you to overthink it. You're going to look at these different categories, and you're going to rate yourself. So this here, 7.5, you're just going to draw a line on where you fall in these different categories. Just take 2 minutes. Try not to overthink it. I know that you're all achievers, and you want to do it perfectly. And this is for your eyes only. This is not, you're not going to have any table discussion. Don't worry. So go look at each category and say to yourself, okay, how do I feel about my physical health and fitness? And you're going to use your own criteria. And the key is making sure that when you look at this again, I recommend doing this at least at the beginning of the year, or once a year for your goals. Ideally, throughout the year, maybe once a quarter. And so you're going to look, and you're just going to physical environment. This is where you spend the bulk of your time. For me, physical environment's very important. My office has to be a really nice environment. My car's got to be clean, stuff like that. Finances, how you rate yourself there. Career, work, how would you rate yourself in that category, or school, if some of you are students. Restoration, fun, and hobbies, how would you rate yourself there? And now I just want to say, too, sometimes one might be low. So, for example, restoration, fun, and hobbies, sometimes new parents, they just have, I know my nephew, they just had a baby. They're not doing a lot of fun things right at the moment, but they're okay with that because they got their sweet little baby that they're focused on right now. Relationships, spiritual, religion, serving, how do you rate yourself there? Personal growth, mental health, and purpose. Now, the point of this is really to, again, raise awareness to these different areas of your life. Is anybody here, when you're looking at this, were you surprised, you said, oh, I hadn't thought about that? Did anyone have that kind of feeling when you're looking at this saying, oh, wow, I didn't think about this aspect of my life? Yeah, I was at a women's retreat in January this year, and one of the women at the retreat did this, and she had a lot of issues, a lot of challenges last year with their eldest daughter, and she had some marital things that were kind of, it affected her marriage, and so there was a lot of things that happened. And she had a perception that 2023 was terrible. But when she did this, she realized that a lot of areas of her life were really much better than she thought. This one area kind of diluted her perception of her life. So breaking it out in this way is a good opportunity to kind of look at the areas and also say to yourself, what am I doing well? What's going well for me? And celebrate that. And then what are the areas that I want to improve? So think of it in terms of that, from that perspective. And I want to share, we were talking about a lot of times we may feel or believe, that it's not possible to have a healthy work-life integration. I know Jen and Dr. Cree were saying like work-life balance, I guess that's kind of a term that's not even used anymore. It's all like work-life integration. But it's possible. So, it's like what we believe is if we believe we can or we believe we can't, we're right. I want to share, this is a client of mine. So my company, Create Your Best Life, is a holistic approach, executive leadership life coaching as a holistic approach for female leaders. And I work with a lot of women from Coca-Cola bottling. And this is one of the directors. And they come in and they do a couple of things up front. They do 2 different assessments, and this is one that they do. And then we do it again at the end. It's a 6-month program. And so then this is her second one, but here is her results. And so you can see she improved in all the areas. I mean, from physical health and fitness, she went from 4 to a 9. And so I share that because a lot of things are possible. And the program, what I do, it's about intention, elimination, and attention. So elimination, it's like, what is your best yes? What are the filters for you making decisions? Delegate, eliminate, automate. Everybody hears that. But it's really slowing down to speed up and figuring out what is it that I can eliminate in my life. If I'm going to add something to my plate, I need to take something off of my plate. And so on some of these, when you're thinking about the areas that you want to grow, whatever it is that you want to grow, let's just say that you want to improve your finances, but you've got that Amazon Prime, and those packages just keep showing up. I understand. And if you look down the road, the direction that you're going, you're never going to get to financial freedom. Direction determines destination. Like if you want to go to Florida and you get on 75 North, you can want to go to Florida all day long, but you will never get to Florida. And it's the same thing in the different areas of your life. Get real and look at these different areas, like what is it that I want to do, and am I heading in the direction to get there? So the third thing that we're going to talk about is taking action with science-based habits. So one of the things, John Maxwell is my mentor. I worked with him for a long time. He's written a lot of books on leadership. And he says, knowledge without application is useless. And so most of the time, change is hard because we might want to change, but then as humans, homeostasis is like where we just want certainty. We want to go back to that certainty. Even good things, changing jobs or getting married, are stressful for us. But one thing that I think is really interesting, this is called a change curve. And for me, I always think that I love understanding. I'm a learner. And so I like to know when you understand the psychological process that you go through, then it's helpful. So if there's something that you want to change, let's just say that you want to get healthier and you want to, get more fit. You're going to initially have a lot of optimism. This is when you go and clean out your pantry, you go to Whole Foods, you spend your whole paycheck, you buy all these fresh vegetables and all that stuff. You say, I'm going to the gym for like 3 hours every day. You get up and you're pumped. You go to the gym. The next day, you can't hardly walk. You've got people at work saying, come on, we're going out for happy hour. And you're like, oh, gosh, I'm trying to get healthy and fit. And they're like, margaritas, chips and dip. And you start saying to yourself, I don't know. I feel good. I mean, I'm good enough. And you kind of start having that doubt. You say, potato chips are a vegetable. I mean, the next phase, you get into the trough, and this is when it's like you just start forgetting why you did why you want to do what you did, or why you want to become healthy. And this is when you have to either you get around people that, want to go walking at lunchtime, or you start really immersing yourself in like podcasts about health and fitness, and you start thinking about why you want to be healthy. I want to be healthy for my children. I want to be able to go on a hike next week. You have to tap into that. And then you start seeing results, and then that's when you start that initial climb and the final climb, and you get that, and it starts to become who you are once you do this. And so when we understand that, I think it's easier to change. And this is something any of you in the business world, this is something that's shown when you're going to change systems, right? Like if you're going from Oracle to SAP or something like that. It's the same thing, like people are getting hostile, like because the thing's terrible. But it's like if you understand that, then I feel like you can deal with it. So how you start your day, there's all sorts of science and research around how you start your day. And the most successful people start their day with waking up early enough, avoiding technology, whatever you do. And I know it's so hard because I struggle with this too. The minute you get on your phone, you click into reactive mode, right? If you look at your phone now, sometimes you have to have your alarm on your phone, or it just takes a lot of discipline. So having that quiet time in the morning, meditation. I've been doing this brain tap meditation. They're guided meditations, unbelievable. I feel like my mental state has improved so much. And there's so many different apps, and again, you have to be so disciplined with that. But setting that intention for the day, just getting out and taking a walk. It doesn't have to be a marathon, like just something to get your body moving. And journaling is a way to put down your goals, your hopes, and your dreams. So now I want to ask you, what do you think the percentage of increase is of achieving your goals when you write it down? Who here thinks it's 10%? So when you write things down, what do you think the chances are, or the percentage of increase of achieving them when you write them down? Do you think it's B, C, D? Okay, well, it's actually C. 42% though, that's a lot, don't you think? Just by writing it down. But you know what? Only 3% of the population actually writes things down. And now I believe that you all are in that 3%. And so that is a practice that I highly, recommend when you write things down. I look back on journals and look back on things, and it's amazing what has come to fruition, and I didn't even realize it. I had journaled about travel in America like 5 years before we did it. So again, it's the whole idea of what you feed your mind. With health, Dr. Don Colbert has written like 45 books on health. So if there's something that you want to get better at, immerse yourself in that. If you want to improve your relationship with your spouse or your kids, there's Dr. Gary Chapman, there's the Gottmans. My daughter, so I have a 20-year-old son, and he did the dual degree physics engineering with UNG and UGA, because he didn't get into UGA to start with. But he's going to UGA in January. My daughter is a freshman at UGA. And when my daughter was younger, I don't know, the mother-daughter thing, a menopausal mom and a hormonal teenage girl, I think God's got a sense of humor. But I grew up in a very dysfunctional environment. I grew up with domestic violence, alcoholism. I'm a survivor of sexual abuse. And I had a lot of dysfunction growing up. And so I don't feel like I had really good role models for that. So when I became a mom, it was like the scariest thing. I'm like, I have got to fix me. And I've worked on myself for so many years. So leading yourself to lead others, I'm still, a counselor, having a counselor, yeah, amen. I think that's really awesome. I think everybody needs someone to really be vulnerable and allow yourselves to look in the mirror at what you can do to be better. And so she and I were just, we were just having these challenges. And I just started immersing myself in content around mother-daughter relationships. And I would have the books out, and I told her, Kennedy, I love you so much. I want to be the best mom. And I'm studying it. I want to be better. I see hormones. But, I read how to speak so kids will listen, how to listen so kids will speak. And in all these different things, and it helped me so much. And what was really cool is she would see me with these books, and I would tell her that I was reading these books. And she said to me, she said, Mom, that means so much, that to see me wanting to be better and being humble, it's like then she wants to be better. It's like that modeling behavior. I don't know if you ever heard this expression, but it's like your actions are so loud I can't hear what you're saying. And so leading yourself to lead others, modeling the behavior. That's how we influence other people. And so again, just being able to download, bless you. Feeding our minds that good stuff. Now here's a really good one. Surround yourself with people who make you a better person. Have anybody here heard of the 2-minute, 2-hour, 2-day people? This one, this is gonna really resonate. I want you to picture a circle, and inside the circle are a bunch of dots. And these dots represent the people in your life. Underneath this circle is 3 buckets, and it's a 2-minute bucket, a 2-hour bucket, and a 2-day bucket. So take these dots, all these people, and put them in the right buckets. Because you don't want to hang out with a 2-minute person for 2 days. And I don't know about you, but I'm related to a bunch of 2-minute people. And now, the thing is, you want to be around people that lift you up, that add value to your life. And it doesn't mean that you make a big deal and diss somebody, but it's like, I call it limited exposure. When you get around the people that, like, it's a beautiful day and they just want to complain that it's going to rain tomorrow. They win the lottery, they're complaining because they got to pay taxes. Like, no matter what good happens, they're going to find something to complain about. And, in our culture, because of all of the negativity, it's easy to get into a negative state. I feel like I've been a 2-minute person. There's been times that I've been a 2-minute person. And I remember saying, this isn't me. And that's when, like, shifting out of what we feed our minds and what we can do and how can we be better is despite whatever might be happening in your life. And so getting back to nature, this is another one. There's all sorts of science. There's like horticulture studies around people who did horticulture studies with mild depression and how they improved dramatically from that. When you go to the beach and you feel really great afterwards, I mean, it's science. There's these ions that are emitted that actually affect the dopamine in our bodies that make us feel better. So if you're in a funk or you're kind of feeling down, just get outside. Is anybody here gardeners? We got any gardeners? Right? You probably know this. Like when you get out and you get in the dirt, you feel better. And now this is a really awesome one. This is about music therapy. When you listen to music that lights you up, and I want to encourage positive lyrics, there is actual dopamine and serotonin that is emitted in our bodies when we are listening to music that lights us up, that makes us feel good. And so now with that, I want to do an experiment, and I would like everybody to stand up, push your chairs in, and we're going to test this theory. We're going to test this theory. If you think about your state right now, think about how you're feeling right now, and then I want you to think about this here again in 4 minutes. Now, I've got some Amazon gift cards in here, and we're going to have a little competition, and I feel like you all look fun. You look very fun to me. So we're going to have a little dance contest. And whoever wants to win this money, these gift cards, you got to shake it really good. So let's do it. Okay. I know it takes a minute to get warmed up.
I got this feeling inside my bones. It goes electric, baby, when I turn it on. Off from my city,
We're shaking it.
off from my home.
All right. Okay.
Feeling when we in our zone. I got that
Sunshine in my pocket, got that good soul in my feet.
happening.
All right, now if you want money, you gotta really shake it. I had somebody do a cartwheel at my last talk.
We rock it. So
All right. Woo! Yeah. Yeah. good. Woo! Ooh, you're shaking it good. All right, who's gonna win? I don't see anybody. Who's standing out? Good. Oops, sorry, I didn't mean to do that. Oh, yeah, there you go.
Ooh, it's something magical. It's in the air.
All right.
Blood is rushing on. I don't need no reason. Don't be control.
Oh, yeah.
So high, no ceiling when I'm in my zone.
Oh, yeah.
Sunshine.
Hey, you guys, come up here.
Soul in my feet. Feel that hot blood in my body.
Come on.
Ooh, I can't take my eyes off of it. Been so phenomenally.
We got some good dancers. Woo! Can we get some good woo? All right, ready? Yeah! Woo! Yeah! Woo! Who wants to join them? Anybody? Woo! All right. Yeah. Woo! All right. Wow. Okay. So, how was that? Even if you weren't really getting into it, how do you feel? Does everybody feel more fun? Was that fun? Okay, you can go ahead and have a seat. All right, so I've got to give this to these ladies here. Rachel.
Thank you.
All right, here you go. Now go ahead and open those. So there's a $100 gift card and a $50 gift card. I look forward to the day when I can put $10,000 in one of those. Because you know what, sometimes like there's things that there's going on and we're afraid to put ourselves out there. But then there's something at the end that we, like a gift or some kind of reward that we're gonna get, but fear held us back. So just think about that in your life, like different things that you might be holding back because you're scared, you don't want to look stupid, you don't want to look goofy. Just think about that. And so you all agree that music therapy does work? Can I get a woohoo? Woo! That is awesome. So here's the question I have for you. Whenever you're looking or whenever you're thinking about what you're feeding your mind, what your thought diet is, I want you to ask yourself this question. Does this add value to my life? Can we all say that? Does this add value to my life? When you're watching TV, when you're around different people, I want you to just like use this as a filter because a lot of times we can be in a trance and not really realizing the things that are negatively impacting our mental health. So to wrap things up, we've got how to have a more joyful, happy, fulfilling life and lead yourselves well. We talked about awareness and how that shapes your feelings and your results in your life, deciding to thrive, deliberately designing the life that you want, and taking action using these science-based habits. And so what I want you to do, number one, is just the next 7 days, pay attention to what you're thinking about. It's called metacognition. When you're thinking about your thinking, pay attention to your thoughts. Like just kind of notice, like in the morning or midday at lunch, and just think, what am I thinking about? And that's like being mindful. And then identify 3 areas in your life that you want to improve. And take one step in a forward direction to improve those areas. And ultimately, feed your mind good stuff. Start your day strong. Consume positive information, positive messaging. Now, don't get me wrong, if you want to watch The Bachelor, or I don't know, Housewives of Atlanta or something like that, that's okay. It's like the Pareto principle, right? The 80-20 rule. 80% of the time, feed your mind good stuff. If you want to watch that, that's fine. Or like eat, if you want to eat a hot fudge sundae, no problem. Just you can't do that all the time. It's that 80-20 rule. And surround yourself with two-day people. So think about, who are the people that really encourage you, that believe in you, that help you to believe in whatever it is that you want to achieve. And now this is a QR code for a mindset quiz that's on our website. So feel free to check that out. And now we're going to have a little Q&A. And also I'm going to ask you what you are going to apply in your life from what you learned today. I've got 5 books to give out, but we can, we'll give these out and then anybody else who wants to share what they're going to apply in their lives. So who wants to be the first one? Based on everything we talked about, what is one thing that you're going to apply in your life? Or if you have a question, let me know. Yes.
Hi. So a question and what I'm going to do with it. I love the paying attention to what you're thinking. That's a really strong muscle, or that's a muscle that needs to be stronger. My question is, so one, that's what I'm going to be doing or trying to. My question is, what do you do with that? So kind of like a meditation practice. You pay attention to your thoughts like they're clouds that are just floating by. I always feel the need to do something with the cloud. So what do I do with those thoughts? I'm paying attention to it, fantastic, but then what do I do with it after that? So I get back to the goals that I've set for myself on the self-discovery map.
So you're asking, you're paying attention to your thoughts.
Yes, now what do I do?
And now what do you do with those thoughts?
Yeah.
Well, it depends on what those thoughts are. Like, are those thoughts good thoughts? Or, so basically, if you've got different thoughts and you're figuring out how can you be better, what can you do in your life, so I guess it just depends on what you're thinking about. But, ultimately, I don't know, there's a quote by Eleanor Roosevelt that says, great minds talk about ideas, average minds talk about events, small minds talk about people. And I'd written an article called Striving for a Great Mind, which is in here. This is a compilation of a bunch of articles I used to write in a magazine for about 10 years. So these are very short, very simple ideas. But, what are you thinking about? If you're thinking about ideas, and then it's like there's something you can do to execute on that idea, or there's people that you can get around to share your ideas and potentially act on those ideas. So, I don't know, does that answer your question at all?
I need to exercise the muscle a bit, and I'm sure I'll get there.
Excellent, excellent. Here, this is a book for you. We'll get to you. Christine, I don't know if you want to get it. Who else? Yes, over there.
I'm Bella Silverman. I'm from UGA Athletics, and this is just something I'm going to work on. I think a lot of the time I like more of slower, sadder songs, but I think the exercise we did today was a really good example of how you can quickly change your mood in 3 to 4 minutes just by putting on some happy music. So that's something I'll work on.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you, Bella. Here's a book for Bella. Thank you. Yes. Oh, there's a mic for you.
Good afternoon. My name is Anissa Henry, and I'm a graduate of the University of Georgia. So someone said the thinking about your thoughts. I'm definitely going to do that. But one thing that really, really resonates with me is if I'm going to add something to my plate, take something off, because I just keep throwing stuff on, and it's just overwhelming me.
Yeah.
So that is something I'm really going to work hard to do.
I love that. Did everybody hear that? If she's gonna add something to her plate, she's gonna take something off. I love that. And that's where, when I work with clients, it's about, creating a filter for how you make decisions. Like you really, there's a process that you can pre-decide how you're gonna decide. so that you're not just reactively saying yes all the time. Because I know that you're achievers, and when you're the person who gets stuff done, so everybody comes to you. And it can be like, I call it the superwoman complex, right? Because it's like, hey, yeah, you're right. Yeah, I can do that. So I just cracked a tooth because I'm so stressed out. But it's like, yeah, like having that filter for how you make decisions. So yeah, we had some other folks here. Oh.
Hi. Good afternoon. My name is Lisa. I'm also a Terry College of Business graduate from the University of Georgia. And my question for you, it really is for you about in that pursuit of your best life with your family. You were amazing, apparently, at convincing your husband to say, let's sell, let's get out of here. I'm curious, here's the question, because you kept your same job, at least for a while, it sounds like. He did too. So what changed for you all in just physically changing locations?
Yeah, so great. Yeah, so first of all, just convincing my husband. I mean, that was not easy. But I had to do, like I said, the spreadsheets and all that stuff. And then I said, you know what, if you don't want to go, that's fine, but I'm not going to be on my deathbed with any regrets. So you can stay here and you can meet up with me and the kids wherever, we're going to go. And God bless that poor guy. He's like going, ooh, okay, I guess I better get on board. The thing is, what it did for me, honestly, I still work too much, even when we traveled. However, I did really calibrate a lot more, and our family, I mean, the RV that we had, it had 2 bathrooms, bunk beds, a king bed. Like it was pretty comfortable, but I mean, it was a lot smaller than a 5-bedroom house. But simplifying life, I loved simplifying. My closet was this big. I had 2 drawers. I wore the same things a lot, but our definition of dirty got expanded. Like if it doesn't have a stain, you still can wear it. And then I had a suitcase under, like with my brown outfits and my black outfits because I still traveled while I traveled. But a lot of it was about experiences. Like we weren't buying stuff. We were going to adventures. Like every place we went, we'd have to figure things out. And it was, for our children, it was just a cool thing because all this leadership stuff I've learned, I've implemented with my children. So if they could have driven, they could have done the trip by themselves. Because we would have them hooking up the Jeep, pulling things up. I mean, it was a lot. It was just different things that you have to do. But really, for me, it was about experiences versus stuff. And our family got really tight. And we got along pretty well. People are like, oh my gosh, I'd just kill my family. But I don't know, we really, I just loved it. And I really was in a funk when we came back. I was really kind of depressed when we came back because I loved the adventure. I loved being with my family and doing cool things, So, I don't know, does that answer your question? Did they give you a book?
Although I'm wondering, when you came back, how'd you deal with that remorse or whatever?
Yeah, I really limited what I did because before I left, I ended up becoming the president of everything. Like if I joined something, and it's like, and I said I'm not doing that. I'm not going to do that. So I really limited doing I just kept a lot off of my plate. And now my kids are my daughter just is at college, so my capacity is expanded. Like I went running last week, and I had all these ideas, and I'm voice texting myself. Because I'm like, oh my gosh, I have so much brain space, not having to, take care of everybody. So it's like, but I have to be so intentional, and I still do because I'm one of the superwoman complex. So it is really paying attention to not doing more stuff, limiting. Yes. Oh wait, I'm sorry. No, go ahead.
Are you sure?
Yes. It's hard to see. There's bright lights in.
Hi everyone, my name is Deidre, and I was born and raised in St. Thomas, Jamaica, which is very rural. And so this semester I took up tennis as a sport for PE, and I really, really loved it. And I really thought that the reason why it resonated with me was because I got to wear cute outfits and just run around on a court. But I think through your presentation, I got to realize that I think it was connecting with nature and being outside that really resonated with me about the whole tennis process. And so I think what I want to move forward and integrate into my life is just going outside some more, because I think that's what I really, really miss about being home, just being able to go outside all the time because we're always outside when I'm home. And I feel like since I've been here, I've been a lot more indoors. So I definitely want to start going outside some more.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you so much. All right, I'm letting we get somebody over here.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jory. One thing I'm going to do more is stop watching shows and start reading books. I forgot how much I love to read and there's just so many great resources out there, so I was like writing all those down. And then I have a question, but I had another thought for whoever started over here. One thing I found helpful is when you have, you're thinking about your thoughts, what I found most effective is to take that thought captive, especially if it's negative. Like, we just went through budgeting, and I'm like, God, I really suck at budgeting. And then I'm like, no, I don't. I don't suck at budgeting, and then call it what it is. That's a lie. And then throw it out. Throw it out. And then some days I'm like, man, like, I can't give anybody what they need. I got 3 little kids. I got all these people at work and with dating problems. Like, I don't know how to solve that. And then I'm like, no, I can give people what they need. Like, that is a lie. That is an attack that I'm giving on myself, and throw it out. And then it's kind of the opposite of like positive thoughts too, of like, oh my gosh, I've like really crushed that, presentation, or that was a really well-crafted email that I wrote. Like, so I don't know. I just thought that could be helpful.
I love
to like
that.
call it what it is, and it loses power over you, and throw it out. My question is, I feel like there's all this talk about being intentional and purposeful and being intentional with people, but the thought of being intentional and the time that takes and like the mental energy can feel overwhelming at the same time. So like, what's your take on intentionality but not letting that like also
Overwhelm you. Yeah. I would just say it's the mindfulness, like even tying in with Dr. Cray and Jen, like a lot of times it's taking things off your plate, but what can I do? What are some things I can do? So kind of shifting into that question to yourself, and what brings you joy? And it doesn't have to be like a big thing. It can be go getting that fiction book and spending 30 minutes before the kids get up and just reading, and that just brings you joy. So a lot of times it's not that overthinking. It's just figuring out, what can I do? What's a small thing? Because, everybody's in different places in their lives, There's seasons when it is crazy, where you've got so much on your plate, and that's shifting into, okay, I've got all this on my plate. What can I do? What can I do different that fuels me? All right. I think we got one more book to give out. Oh.
Hi, my name is,
All right, so now I'm sorry that I don't have any more books, but
I don't want to, I'm
wanna
okay.
hear.
I can buy it. It's okay. I just want to thank you in regard to, my name is Lynn Green, thank you in regard to the category of people, 2 minute, 2 hour, 2 day people, because I'm an extrovert, so I thrive off relationship with people. I love people, but I'm learning how to put them, I never said it like that, but to put them in categories is going to really help me, so that's all I needed to say, so thank you so much for that.
Well, good. Thank you. I appreciate that. Does that resonate with anybody else? And, I always say, like, are you the 2 minute person? Like, I've been a 2 minute person. I was at a conference, and we talked about this, and a lady came up, and she goes, Christine, I'm a 2 minute person. I got to stop. I said, well, thank you for sharing that. It's okay. We all can be 2 minute people. It's okay. But once you know that, then it's like, okay, I got to change and get my, immerse yourself in good stuff and shift out of it. Yes.
Hi, I'm Teresa Silcox. I am a graduate of the University of Georgia Terry College of Business.
Whoop, whoop.
It only took me 30 years. I took a quarter off, and 25 years later, I had a panic attack and went back
Wow,
to school.
good for you. That's awesome.
But
That's a good example. You won't have regret because you did it.
I did. But the one thing that I have been missing is time for myself. And this past week, I work for a training firm, and when the pandemic hit, we went 100% to Zoom training. So I have spent probably 4 full days on 2 computers hosting training sessions this week. And I had to get up an hour earlier than I usually drag myself out of bed. And so I've made the commitment to myself today that I will continue next week to try to get up at that same time and spend that extra 30 minutes on myself, journaling and reading.
Oh, I love it. Thank you for sharing. All right, we probably have maybe one or two more. We'll get you out for lunch.
Hi, my name is Nishat Naila, and I'm a third-year student at the University of Georgia in the Terry College of Business. And my question was sort of about this phrase we're often told as students that time is money. And I think hearing that over and over again, sometimes it makes it really hard to take time for yourself because you always feel like you're missing out on opportunities. And I was kind of what you said about you don't have to be the president of everything you're involved in. I was kind of curious from those experiences, what did you learn that you would echo to students in the room?
So about time is money. So you're kind of like you hear that messaging. So like I can't ever relax because time is money. Yeah, exactly. What I would say to that is you can't pour from an empty cup, right? Like if you're depleted, you can't give. Like you want to have your spirit filled, your mindset, you want to be full yourself, and you want to give from overflow. So time, eventually that mentality is where you're sick, you can't perform. I mean, ultimately it costs money if you don't take care of yourself, mentally and physically. And then the other question was from like being in that state, what would you share with other people? I would say that it's really figuring out your values and making sure that whatever you're doing aligns with that. And the whole idea of looking at your time, like again, I said it already, but it's like slowing down to speed up. Like look at what you're currently doing. If you have new opportunities, are these things, is this something that I really want to do? It's kind of like a quantitative thing and a gut thing. And if I'm going to do this, how much time is it going to take? And then how is it going to work with everything I've got on my plate right now? And is there something on my plate right now that I would rather do this? And how can I segue out of it? So it's really that intentionality is like stepping back and just making sure to notice what you've got going on and what you want to do and how you take care of yourself as well, like making sure you're taking care of yourself. Well, our time is up. It's time for y'all to get lunch. But I want to just thank you so much, and I want to tell you that you are deserving and worthy of all of the abundance life has to offer. And it doesn't matter where you came from or where you are today. It doesn't define who you can be or what you can achieve in your life. So I want to thank you so much. I pray for you that you'll go out and implement some of these ideas. And thank you so much. Have a great lunch.